Hello, Guardians. Welcome back to Tower Casuals, the Destiny podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Corey Deerigan. Alongside me, as always, is the AI-generated concept art, Josh Finney.
You fucking monster. I don't like that.
I know.
I don't like it at all.
I know. I'm sorry, Josh. I've been playing with a lot of those tools lately, and yeah, I'm gonna apologize to everybody that has a job 10 years from now. Maybe sooner.
That doesn't have a job, you mean?
Well, I mean, maybe they still have a job. I don't know. I don't know what's happening in this world, Josh. Okay? I don't know. I have no idea what's happening.
No.
Oh, man. But to quote Josh Finney, it has been a fucking week.
It's been a week.
Yeah. It's definitely been something, you know. So, but how are you, Josh?
I've been battling a migraine today, so I apologize if I seem groggy. I woke up when my alarm went off, and then realized my laptop was not turning on, so I had to troubleshoot that real quickly. So I am waking up still.
That's fair.
And have a pounding headache in the meantime. So
Yeah. It's yeah, everybody in my house is sick. So that's neat. I'm trying to stay what do you call it? Energized and perky, Josh.
oh God.
I'm not sure perky is the right word to be using. Oh man, Josh. Anyways, you do anything cool and play anything else besides Destiny before we jump into this what Azzacross said, the best twab ever on Twitter?
No, I really didn't play anything else this week. It's pretty much been all Destiny. But I've been playing a little bit of Fortnite because they got the Avatar Pass going on, which I need to go finish. But for the most part, no, just kind of hanging out. I've even been struggling to find time to play games this past week. It's been that busy around here.
Yeah,
but it's all good. It was a great week in Destiny, though. It's been a really great week. Farming mountaintop roles, and then we got the beloved Hammerhead back this week, as well as
Hammerhead
Forbearance coming forward for all players. I would say let's just jump into it. This is a pretty dense TWAB. I don't think it'll take too long to talk about, but there's some pretty wide-ranging implications in here.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot going on.
Let's go ahead and jump on in.
TWAB.
Yeah, let's jump on into the TWAB. We've got some good questions tonight too.
Yeah, we do.
So we're going to talk about how power works in the final shape first, and I'm a little interested that they're talking about it. It feels like it's far out, but I mean, we're only 40 days out at this point.
I know, isn't that ridiculous? Isn't that
crazy? It's funny, we waited all this time for it to get here, and now it's just like flying by.
Yeah.
Really, ever since they started, do what?
Oh, I was just gonna say, I think because like the community seems re-energized and Onslaught seems to have re-energized people, and Prismatic, everything seems to have re-energized, so like everyone's excited, and now it's flying by.
I think it really started with that first Into the Light stream that we were all like, okay, like they're not going to show much, and we were like, oh my god, like this is actually really good. I would definitely agree that this is like overall the most positive I've seen in the community. I do feel like there's been some break glass in case of emergency changes coming to the game. We're going to get into some of those tonight, but yeah, I mean, I haven't seen this many active Guardians in a long time. We actually had a question tonight from a member of our community who hasn't had a lot of time to play this past season, asking like, what should I prioritize? Which normally would be something that I'd be doing right around this time, and I really like hadn't thought that through yet. Because this is like kind of the year that like not much matters. If you've been keeping up with the exotic quests and like a handful of crafted options, there's really just like not a lot of stuff you need to like worry about right now, I don't think. I do think that There's a lot of playlist thing. You should go play a lot of playlist activities. I'll put it that way. There's a lot of really good stuff that's dropped this year that you should go focus on, like Shax and Drifter. Saint. You got a few more weeks of trials left. You should definitely go get some of those weapons. But for now, we're going to talk about how power is going to work in the final shape. And this has been something we've all kind of wondered for a little while. Power is not going away.
I'm
Um,
kind of shocked.
I completely forgot. It's guys, it's been a really long time since August. We forget that a lot of this was originally talked about like 8, 9 months ago, and I have slept since then. Not much, but I have gotten some sleep. And Fire Team Power is something that was announced that I actually completely forgot about. Um, so let's jump in and talk about it. Fire Team Power. In the final shape, playing with friends will be easier than ever, no matter if you play every day, haven't played in years, or are trying Destiny 2 for the very first time. The player with the highest power level in the Fire Team will become the power leader, and all other players in the Fire Team will be brought up to 5 power below the power leader if their power isn't already higher. Fire Team Power only affects activity difficulty, and your unadjusted power level will still determine the power of your rewards. Being a power level will also give you a boost to any commendations earned at the end of the activity. So we see here in this first screenshot for Nightfalls that power is going to go up to over 2,000, presumably, or very close to it.
Well, this
Um,
oh yeah, I mean this image says 1995. So,
well, if you look down where it says launch, right above it, expert for the
yeah.
difficulty setting,
Yeah.
2005.
Yeah. I wonder if that's later in like the episodes or something because don't
I have
the
no idea, but they usually do an increase of 2 to 300 in the base expansion, so that wouldn't be shocking.
yeah.
Um, anyways, because like 1950 is only 150 above where we are now, or that's
Yeah.
140 above where we are now. I would imagine 2000 is probably the cap, um,
Yeah.
and then we'll go from there. But that is so that's always going to be displayed. Your power will be displayed very prominently, and then at which that's yours. And then
Mhm.
the X, like there, it says expert. That's going to be the difficulty level of the activity. I like that they're putting it there too. And then when people join, as you can see here, the adjusted firepower on the second screenshot, you have two 1950s and you have a 2000. Everything is brought up to be 1995, which is 5 under what the top person with 2000 has. So that's pretty cool. I'm very, very, very excited for Fire Team Power. I have friends who have not jumped back in because, let's face it, this game can be a little bit grindy. This takes out one of the really big aspects so they can just focus on the gear grind,
Yeah.
which I like. I like hearing that they can just focus on the gear grind. They can team up with me and other friends and just go in, get the raid gear, get the dungeon gear they want, and be able to complete those high level activities without having to make this their life,
Mhm.
which is really big. I think this is borderline too little, too late. This is something that would have been awesome to have been introduced with like Beyond Light or the Witch Queen. This is
Yeah.
this is another this is one of those changes that it feels like they're doing it because they had to at this point, because they've seen the complaints about, oh my god, it's so hard to get my friends into this game. New Light sucks. Like now they're adding in the ability to skip New Light. Now they're adding this in. Like it really feels like it's just like, hey, go play the fucking game. To that
Yeah.
extent, they're also removing power limits from Legacy Gear. Power limits from Legacy Gear. One problem we encountered when designing Fireteam Power was power limits found on older gear items. You may have noticed you read about Fireteam Power. The adjusted power shared by the power leader would sidestep caps on old power limited items, making it possible to ignore them. After thoroughly considering this problem, we came to the decision to remove power limits from all items starting in the final shape. Always being able to play with your friends was a huge goal. As we close out the Light and Dark saga, we want to rally all Guardians, active, returning, and new, to help fight the Witness, and there's no better way to play Destiny than with your Fire Team. As we pursued this goal, it became apparent power limits were fundamentally incompatible with Fire Team Power. We understand many old power limited items have been dismantled at this point, and we regret we have no recovery mechanism for these. Going forward, we intend to reintroduce sources for most or all of these, updated to modern Destiny sandbox standards with added properties such as origin traits and build crafting perks, as we have started to do with the Brave Arsenal and Into the Light. Datto is screaming, but the rest of us are screaming happiness. I think now, like I've clung to so many of these weapons as artifacts of the past, and I'll likely still continue to hold on to some of the raid weapons in particular.
Mhm.
I have a lot of the Leviathan weapons, for example, and I have some from like Scourge of the Past. Like I'd like to hold on to those. I'm a sentimental person, but this is the latest thing that I feel like okay, I can go in and I can clear like another 30, 40 spaces in my vault. I can safely delete a lot of older weapons, like basically anything pre-arrivals. I feel like I can delete.
Mhm.
Um, most of us have come around to the understanding that anything that was sunset is just simply not going to be able to compete in the current sandbox. There are very few weapons that I think can hang in the sandbox. Kindled Orchid is one of those. I saw a lot of people very excited. A 140 Void hand cannon, which we don't have.
Mhm.
Um, that is something that can definitely hang in the sandbox, depending on what perks you've got on it, especially. A lot of people would have been using Midnight Coup, but Midnight Coup just came back. Mountaintop and Recluse would have been two. Those just came back and are, they have better chances for better rolls than ever. Um, this is the right way to do it. When they say most, if not all, that makes me think that they're trying to figure out a way to rework Revoker specifically. Because let's face it, a sniper where you miss your shot and you have the chance to get your round automatically back is still very problematic in something like the Crucible. There is a reason why sunsetting was introduced in the first place, and it was for Mountaintop, Recluse, Revoker, Beloved. Like, those were the four primary weapons it was done for. And three of those have been brought back now with random rolls. So never say never on Revoker, but I do think that that's like why the caveat is there, and like maybe to allow them a little bit of wiggle room with some of these older raid weapons. Introducing ways to bring those back, that also confirms to me that like we're just getting a taste of it right now. Like there's a reason why it focused on like Shax's arsenal. He's giving you focuses a lot on like banned weapons, things that were too powerful in PvE or in PvP or in Gambit in the past. So that makes me hopeful that we're going to see specifically Black Armory and the Dawn Arsenal come back at some point. We got a pretty good amount of the Opulence weapons already. We got a pretty
Yeah.
good amount of the Reckoning weapons back. Let's keep this trend going. Like there are ways to do this, and like I said, I think crafting makes it easier than ever to justify bringing things back. You can do
Mhm.
new roles, you can do the origin traits, and just like you can even argue that anything like pre Witch Queen can't really hang in the current sandbox. We
Yeah.
have power crept so much at this point. Like, I don't think everybody really understands this. Killing Tally, which is one of my favorite perks on LMGs and on Trace Rifles, started out as like the signature perk for 21% Delirium, which is a Gambit pinnacle back during Shadowkeep.
Mhm.
Shadowkeep? Shadowkeep.
Shadowkeep.
It was either Forsaken or Shadowkeep, one of the two. I don't remember which one it dropped with, but it was a pinnacle reward you could get, and that gun was awesome. Killing Tally was instantly just such a good perk. And then that gun gets sunset, and like a year or two later, that perk starts showing up on various weapons. It's been a favorite on trace rifles since Season of the Haunted dropped with Hollow Denial. So I personally enjoy killing Tally on a lot of items. Now I think about like, oh, 21 Delirium comes back, and now you can bring that back with random rolls. Like it's kind of like Breakneck. Like you don't have to keep these weapons exactly the same. They took the Onslaught perk from Breakneck and also started putting it on other auto rifles and on LMGs even. I have a Hammerhead with Onslaught rewind rounds, and that thing is an absolute monster. Uh, that's I think the best way to bring some of these weapons forward. Like it's just okay, we're gonna be we're really nostalgic for like those old raid clears, but the reality is like okay, nobody's automatically gonna be a god in any like PvE activity, especially just because they can bust that Ghost Primus again.
Mhm.
It's a fun little thing to be like, oh look, I can use this. Like there are still some god rolls that people have held on to all these years. I, for one, am very excited that I've held on to a good roll of my Breachlight sidearm all this time. One of my all-time favorite weapons. But when I think back to like other side, like there's another sidearm I liked from Season of the Dawn. It was an Arc Amalon one. I want to say it's called Last Hope. I used that a lot for like 3 or 4 seasons. That was my crucible weapon. And I was like, oh, well, I can use that in activities again because I really, really I like that specific model of sidearm. I like that fire rate. I like the perks on it. I think to it, and it's like, damn, this was before Volt Shot was even a thing. Like now, I can't imagine using that specific sidearm without having the Volt Shot perk, for example. So I do think this is a good change. This also makes it to where folks who have older gear, like they're not automatically being told, "Well, you just have nothing that you can use." Like, no, they have stuff. It's just not. It's not going to measure up to the current sandbox. Like, maybe don't take them into a Grandmaster Nightfall using that stuff, but they can go do activities. They can at least like start to do dungeons with two pretty souped up guardians, or they can go run the Nightfall playlist and not feel like they're weighing you down. They've always been able to do Crucible. This is being referred to by Josh Kalinsky, who's one of the senior designers at Bungie. He was referring to this instead of sunsetting as sunrising, and that they had a lot of talks internally if they were going to do this or not. I mean, I think it makes sense. You get access to the full arsenal. Everybody complained about it anyways. Now, I mean, really, the last thing is, can you bring back the old activities that we all paid for?
Right.
That's like the final thing I'm kind of looking at because yeah, great, cool. If you say you have plans for all these weapons to come back, I assume that means you have plans for the armor to come back too that we can no longer get. That to me indicates that at the very least the raids are going to come back at some point.
Yeah.
And I don't want this to be a huge long drawn out process either. Like I like the mode that they've gotten to each season where it seems like okay, we're going to give you the 6 weapons for the season, and then we're going to give you like 4 or 5 reprised weapons.
Yeah.
You look at even going all the way back to um, Haunted last year, and in Haunted, we got the Haunted suite, and then we got the stuff from Opulence. We got 4 from the Menagerie. We got 4 weapons from the Menagerie, and we got 2 from the Crown of Sorrow raid.
Hmm.
We got um Oh my god, I completely forgot. We got the Ikelos suite back with Seraph, craftable. Earlier this year, we got in Defiance, you got the class swords, and you got the Emperor's Courtesy, or not Emperor's Courtesy, Imperial Decree shotgun. You got in Deep. God, I'm sorry, my brain is so scattered. In Deep, you got the 6 weapons, and you got 6 Reckoning weapons back. You got some of the Red War weapons back during Witch, and then this season, of course, we've seen the Undying weapons, and then the 12 weapons in the Brave suite. So I do think that we're at a point now where they are like healthily giving us a bit of both each season, and that's
Yeah.
that's good. Like the reprised weapons they seem to have gotten to a point where okay, they decided after last year, okay, maybe we don't want those to be like craftable all the time because you can craft. It's funny, you can craft the swords and the shoddy. You can't craft the reckoning weapons. You can't craft the red war weapons, but then you can craft the undying weapons. Maybe that's just because there's only 4 of them versus 6. I don't know, but it's an interesting it's an interesting dichotomy, and now with everything dropping, I don't think everything needs to be craftable because they have successfully found a way to keep people who suffer from FOMO, like myself, playing this game by introducing limited time looks for these guns. And I think it would be so cool if, oh, you played during that season and got the god roll. Here, you get a special ornament for it. I think that would be so cool going forward for reprised weapons in particular. Kind of like a hey, I was there for this type thing.
Hmm.
I like the idea of it. The shiny hunt has been great rather than me just getting in, getting my red borders, and then just not caring. Like now, I'm like, oh my god, the hunt is on. I've never wanted to hunt weapons like this before. I gotta have good rolls on all the shiny weapons, all 12 of them. And it's gonna be like crafting was for me. Like I was like that with crafting. I was obsessed the first couple seasons. I got to get every single pattern, and now I'm just like, oh my god, please kill me. Um, I'm not wanting to do that as much now. And I know that eventually variants would go that way, but it provides something for those who this is their only thing. This is all they want to play. Congratulations. The people who want to get to level 4 or 500 every season, you have things to chase now.
Yeah. Well, cool.
Yep.
Neat.
I mean, any thoughts on that one, Corey?
Nope. I don't have anything different to add. So
Corey is like, I cleaned out my vault forever ago.
I mean, my vault gets cleaned out once a year, about 2 weeks before the expansion starts. So, um, you know, it's gone, most of it. So,
For
vault cleaning,
most of it.
vault cleaning, everybody, clean your vaults. They're dirty.
Now we can like safely clean them out. I want to see like at what cadence we get things back, but I feel pretty good deleting a lot of things now. Moving on, power bands. We were just talking about this with the screenshots. Well, Corey, we have them right here.
That
We're
we
improving
do.
power bands to further lower the barrier to entry. In the final shape, the soft cap will only require 40 power to reach, down from the usual 150. This should allow new lights enough time to get familiar with the core of Destiny's gear power system before stepping into the broader game without holding them back. You can easily achieve the soft cap by playing through either difficulty of the Final Shapes campaign. If you complete the campaign on Legendary difficulty, you'll be rewarded with an entire gear set at 1960 power, which is 20 into the powerful band, and then giving you a great head start towards being raid ready for contest mode. Contest mode for the raid will be 1965. That feels very low because the power floor is going to be 1900, so everybody's automatically going to be that. Soft cap 1940, powerful cap 1990, and then the hard pinnacle cap is going to be 2000. It really does feel like we are progressing towards power not being a thing anymore, and I'm kind of relieved for that.
Yeah, I'm still like,
Especially with the way they're re-leveling things too.
yeah, my thing too though is like, if they're aiming towards that, why not just rip the band-aid off? I don't know. And I know that
Because I
there's
think that's something you watch with an expansion that's not the end of your saga. Do that when you're gonna, or you do it with like the next game. I think that so many veteran players are so used to this. It's been 10 years. We've had how many different types of like leveling systems. Just do this, and when you effectively reset everything in the next year or two, then rip that band-aid. They have a whole chart down here, kind of explaining the philosophy behind things. I'm gonna keep going into that. I think it'll make a little bit more sense.
I'll
Activity power, beginning with the final shape, the power level of activities will become much easier to understand. We're also making it so players can enjoy Destiny 2 story and free roam content at any level. The activities will be divided into two categories: power enabled and power disabled. Power disabled activities play the same for everyone, no matter their power level. Anyone at any level can jump right in and experience them to the fullest. As such, increasing your power won't change the difficulty you experience, and you can't overlevel the enemies in these activities. Disabled activities include campaigns, both normal and legendary difficulties. I like hearing that. That excites me. Specifically the legendary one. I'm a little intrigued by that. Seasonal story missions, free roam destinations, the Crucible, and some legacy content. Power enabled activities, by comparison, are where you grow stronger by improving your power. These each have an activity power cap or a power level at which you will achieve maximum effectiveness. We've improved the UI to show you exactly what these power caps are and if you've achieved them. Enemies will have a set feel for how tough they are, even at the cap, but you will notice yourself getting stronger as your power level grows. Power enabled activities include Vanguard playlists, Nightfalls, seasonal activities, exotic missions, Trials of Osiris, raids, and dungeons. So, I want to point everybody to this screenshot we have here of the Vanguard ops. If you're following along with us, there is a little box that is checked. Activity power cap reached 1945. And then combatant difficulty. There are 2 out of 4 skulls here, and you can view challenges. I like that. I do think that's a little bit more streamlined. This chart here really, really emphasizes it. So the standard power cap is going to be 1945. That seems like it's going to be super easy for everybody to hit. You're going to hit that almost immediately. So, how to master, focus on growing your power level to the powerful and pinnacle caps. Example activities include Vanguard Ops, seasonal activities, exotic missions, raids, and dungeons. Advanced, previously the hero tier, 1995. It's going to be for Nightfalls. That's going to be your opening level of Nightfalls. Expert, previously titled Legend, 2005 for the power cap. Nightfalls, lost sectors. So I assume that's going to be expert lost sectors. Seasonal activities, probably the pinnacle versions, and exotic missions. So, you know. Master 2010, Nightfalls, lost sectors, raids, and dungeons. So that seems like that's, well, master raids, that is. Grandmaster, Nightfalls, of course, and then contest mode, 1965 power, a unique limited time challenge in which each raider will have to demonstrate their gameplay. In this mode, fire team power will not apply, and the requirement for that is to raid during the first 48 hours. It's worth calling out gameplay tuning in our existing high level difficulty content remains unchanged, and we are continuing to experiment with new activities that evolve in difficulty throughout the run, such as in deep dives, coil, and onslaught. We look forward to continuing to explore ways to make difficult activities engaging and rewarding to conquer while making your ongoing power climb feel meaningful and important. I like this. This is when specifically how they call out at the end the deep dives, coil, and onslaught as evolving difficulty. That I think onslaught nails it. You have the option to, and the coil to an extent also, because coil you have the option to just go do like one run of a Riven's layer if you don't have time to do the entire like 45-minute run. That's the way these needs to be in the future. You need to have a playlist version, you need to have the real version, and an expert version that you can choose from within that node. I think Onslaught has nailed it. The caveat being, of course, you need to have enough players to keep it going, and I do think that's where like seasonal activities rotating out helps. Um, I'm very on board for this when you combine it with Fire Team Power. That makes it easier than ever to be able to play with your friends, to be able to play with randos. Like this is now it comes down to, can you just build a decent gear loadout? Like, can you build a decent loadout essentially? It's your thing. What do you think, Corey?
I think it's great. I think it's great. Gear loadouts. I love it. I love everything, Josh. I love it all. Bring it.
Corey is firmly planting me in the driver's seat. That is a
Yeah, I am.
terrifying aspect. That is a
Nope.
terrifying thought.
Nope. I'm I apologize, guys. I'm still answering some work emails that are, we'll say, important. But yeah, no, I think this is good. I like it. I
It's
think
all good. I will continue to captain the ship.
yes. I yeah. Yes. Oh, Captain, my
Artifact
Captain.
bonus artifact bonus power. Yeah, today I'm the captain. Corey is the Corey is Mr. Sulu, and I'm Captain Kirk.
No, I'm the guy that fell off the ship and is struggling to get back on. That's where I'm at
That's
this
fair.
point.
I identify with that a little bit too much. Artifact bonus power. The way you earn a bonus power from the artifact is staying the same at its core, but we've rebalanced it to offer a more meaningful and rewarding progression. With the additional time offered by each episode, we've increased the number of weeks with seasonal challenges, and they will also be receiving a buff to their XP rewards. Given to this, we needed to make some adjustments to the XP requirements for bonus power levels. Our goals for the rebalance were that actively engaged players could attain similar artifact levels achieved by the end of an episode, and that the artifact power remains a rewarding pursuit throughout. Whatever. Okay, so nothing big. Everything's increasing. Account-wide power. This is what I'm really excited about. Titan, Hunter, Warlock. Most of us primarily play just one, but what if it didn't have to be so hard to walk into different classes, Greaves, Strides, or Boots? We're lowering the barrier to entry to play multiple classes by introducing account-wide power. There is no longer an excuse for people like me who only want to play one class. Starting
Yeah.
in the final shape, the gear rewards you earn on any character will drop with a power level relative to the highest powered character on your account. Level up your Hunter, and when you switch to your Titan or Warlock, the gear rewards you earn will be around your Hunter's level. The exact power of rewards will still depend on the source, but the power you earn on one character will positively influence rewards you find on your other characters. Because cross-character power progression is now intrinsic to the game, power boosts will no longer be offered for sale. We got rid of a microtransaction.
Yeah.
We beat the Eververse one time.
It's one in a row.
Campaign skips will still be available for other characters. These changes aim to make switching between characters and classes easier than ever before. So try something new and put on that Mark Cloak Bond for the first time. Oh, I'm so excited. And here we go. After this, I'm taking a nice long drink of water. Reward power. For some time now, select activities such as ritual playlists have had a chance of dropping a powerful reward with +1 power for players between the soft and powerful cap. In the final shape, we're extending this beyond those select activities to just about every reward source in Destiny 2. This change will help players gradually reach the powerful cap no matter what activities they choose to play, so you aren't limited to just the weekly available powerful rewards. Additionally, we are improving the power of rewards you purchase from vendors and collections. All items purchased from vendors will now drop no lower than 3 below your highest possible power, and items reacquired from collections will be 5 below instead of all the way down at the power floor. I love it. I absolutely love this. This is about the best news I could have heard.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this is really great. We beat the Eververse, as my father says, 1 in a row. And then yeah, I think man, I'm really happy, Josh.
I'm very happy about this.
My
This is
face
exciting.
is smiling on the inside.
This is exciting. I'm very glad these are all super player friendly challenges. It's not hard to see why certain content creators were like, this is one of the best TWABs we've ever gotten. This is such good information, and I'm glad they held this closer to launch instead of coming. I would have preferred that Fireteam Bower be held until now and not have been announced last August because, I mean, honestly, I forgot about it. But man, what a thing to come out with. I love it.
Mhm.
I absolutely love it. As a reminder, next week, April 30th, on Tuesday at Reset, the Pantheon is going to be launching. 4 of the toughest bosses you've ever faced, and the challenge will escalate over the coming weeks until you defeat 8 bosses in a row. Of course, there were more details back in the April 11th TWID. They're doing 2 teams that are going to race to complete the Pantheon's weekly challenges, and also taking on the unique modifiers to amp up Pantheon's difficulty. So I think that's interesting. I personally
Yeah.
won't I won't be partaking in watching this really, but
You won't?
nope. I will be partaking in normal Pantheon. I will be down here with the
Normal.
plebeians. I
You're
will not be watching this.
a normie.
I don't like this is a game that I really struggle to watch other people play. Like it's got to be a world's first race for me to want to tune in,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah, that's fair.
So, and it's got to be brand new content, world's first. It's got to be like Dado is on the final boss or something and is about to miss out on the belt yet again. Like that's like the kind of content I'll watch. What I am really excited for and will be participating in is this new Crucible mode called Hardware. I'm very excited here. I have to think this came out of them deciding to go with Prismatic. We've known about Hardware for a little while, but it's coming to the game. No abilities, weapons only. Crucible Labs starting next week will feature hardware supremacy. The hardware modifier disables all abilities, including movement abilities like dodge and Icarus dash, although you can still use powered jump abilities, and puts the focus on gunplay. Collect heavy and special ammo from crates, and don't forget to pick up the crests. As with all labs, we'll be paying close attention to how this modifier is received, so please try it and give us feedback on what you think. I will be shocked if hardware is not a constant mode going forward in the final shape with how Prismatic is going to shake up subclass customization, especially with those exotics.
Yeah.
I have a feeling that this is I like if you have a permanent hardware mode, like maybe it's a rotating mode between like Clash and Control every week or something, and then
Hmm.
you can still have like a classic control node. I think that's going to be something that goes on and like maybe classic control, I know it's already replaced by Iron Banner, but it's replaced when Iron Banner comes up and stuff. um that is probably something we're looking at for the next year. There's going to be a lot of people who just don't want to deal with that. I think that the PvP sandbox is going to become a little too crazy, and I think that having a mode like hardware and having I'm forgetting the name of it, but having the very like restricted mode where like you still have the abilities but they take forever to charge. um those are two that I see being in heavy rotation going forward in PvP, to let you just kind of go nuts in PvE. Next week also is going to be your last chance to earn Iron Banner rewards. Is the final Iron Banner of the year plus of Lightfall, of this
Okay, so
awful year.
so I always feel like in my head, Iron Banner is always, like, too far apart, but I feel like Iron Banner is, like, every other week now.
This is the 6th Iron Banner we've gotten this season. We have had one a month.
Yeah,
I'm a little surprised they're not doing one in May, personally, but whatever. I personally would have held this until
whatever.
after all of the Brave weapons were out.
Yeah.
Um, but whatever. This is your last chance to earn certain weapons. Um, and it'll be your last chance before, I mean, I would assume before the final shapes raid. We probably aren't getting another Iron Banner until 3 weeks into the final shape. 2 weeks in, maybe, since the raid's been moved up. Maybe they'll give us one the second week of the final
Maybe.
shape, which still is mid June.
Well, you think hmm, the second week of the I mean, the first episode will be out, the raid will be out. Maybe?
Yeah, you're basically gonna go if they do it that week. If they do it the week after the final shape drops, which I feel is going to happen. Um, you are well, and it's like, do you do it then or do you? I think you have to do it then so you don't get people into a mode of expecting trials right away. Trials being the third week of an expansion feels right. It being like the third, fourth weekend of an expansion drop, that feels about right to me. Because they don't do it on raid weekends, they don't do it on Iron Banner weekends. They
Mhm.
probably want to get Iron Banner out of the way so they can just have like 4 or 5 uninterrupted um,
Yeah.
trials weeks,
Yeah.
which would make sense to me.
Mhm.
Probably gonna have a new armor set, etc. This is gonna be your last chance to get things like Tusk of the Boar and Multi Mock before then. And let me tell you, two of the best weapons in the game right now. Highly recommend getting Tusk of the Boar for all you strand builders out there. It's really really good. Multi Mock, one of the best PvP SMGs in the game right now, if not the best. Definitely would recommend going in and getting those. I don't remember off the top of my head which weapons are going away, but this will be your last chance. I would reference the chart from a couple weeks ago because
Mhm.
once they're gone, you can still get them from Saladin, but it's going to cost you a lot of Ingrams to do so.
Yep.
And finally, here at the end of the TWAB, I'm scrolling back up to
End
the
of the
top.
TWAB.
Scrolling back up to the top. There was a trailer that was erroneously released early this week. It was
Yeah.
released on Monday night by very late Monday night by Sony Brazil or something, I think.
Yeah, something like that.
Um, so somebody at Sony leaked it, and we were like, "Oh, thank you." It is a 2-minute trailer narrated entirely by Nathan Fillion as Cade,
And it is
and
dope.
it has some of the best dialogue we've ever heard in this game.
Yeah. It's really good.
I Man, we got burned so hard with Lightfall, and I'm trying so hard not to be super optimistic right now. Like I'm not intentionally trying to be like a downer, but I'm like cautiously optimistic at this point. The caution is starting to get thrown out the door though. Like I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop because everything we've heard over like the last month about the final shape has been incredible. Like you've said it before that it feels like we're approaching Witch Queen levels of hype.
Mhm.
I think we're starting to surpass that.
We are there right now. Like, I think it's pretty even for me right now.
I think
Um,
for me, for me, what's pushed me over is Prismatic. That is, I never expected to see that,
yeah,
and the fact that
Prismatic's
we're getting
awesome.
lore accurate Guardians now.
Yeah.
Um, and I
I
mean, like, also, it's like all the little things are adding up too. Like anything that they can do, they are doing at this point. It seems like the big crescendo would be, oh, with episodes, we're going to bring back fan favorite activities in each one of these, like your old raids. That I think would send everybody into a frenzy. But it is just
you
this is
think you think Prismatic, and I think this is kind of like a general consensus thing, but do you think Prismatic that it's eventually just going to evolve into one subclass that's going to involve everything from all the other subclasses at some point?
I hope not. I'm going to be honest. I hope not. I think each subclass has its own identity, and I think that's really important for it to keep that. Like from not just from a lore perspective, but from a gameplay perspective, I think that's really important. Because otherwise, why would you ever use anything other than the most OP most OP thing? I think when you have these other kits that are like just solar, just arc, just void, like there are different play styles that are encouraged that way. There are exotics that can only be used with those classes. Like there's still a lot of value there, I think. And I think switching it to where prismatic is like, oh, you can use it's the fusion of light and dark and blah blah blah. Like I like that it's limited on the supers and on the abilities and everything. Like you cannot combine all the most OP abilities from a class, and I really enjoy that. You have to kind of pick and choose.
Hmm.
I enjoy that personally. I think that we need to see how it plays, but I really, really hope they don't switch to that's the only way that we build classes in the future. I think that is mighty confusing for a new player. And not even just for a new player, but I think like for some veteran players, like it's gonna be like, well, what the fuck? Like, okay, so everything I've done has been kind of completely invalidated. My play style is totally invalidated. I don't want it to be just like, oh, here's like 30 different types of grenades you can choose from, you know? I
Hmm.
think that's really goofy. Um, I don't know. I don't know. I think there is so much of a balancing issue then at that point too that like that would really break the game. If you're gonna do something like that, it needs to be Destiny 3.
Yeah.
Um, where you can like kind of hit reset on the abilities and this and that. But for as
Well,
long as we're in Destiny,
that would be like what I would think, though, right? I mean, I think it's clear they're going to try to do a Destiny 3 or a new Destiny. I don't know if it'll have 3. I hope they just drop the number, and somehow I don't know, but I think Prismatic will be the only subclass, and you will be able to mix and match. I personally think that's what's going to happen, and they're going to go the full RPG. Let's let people have fun with builds, and then maybe they just get rid of PvP altogether, and Marathon will be their PvP game. I don't know.
I don't think I don't think you can get rid of PvP. You can maybe do the subclasses. You can't get rid of PvP. Like I think that's why hardware is being introduced. As much as folks may not want to admit it, PvP really has kept this game alive during a lot of the really long stretches, specifically these 6 month seasons that we've gotten 3 out of the last 4 years. PvP has been a driving force of keeping this game alive. Like I'm one of those people. I don't want to go run strikes for the 50th time. Like I'm over strikes like the fourth time I do them. I don't want to keep doing those. Like PvP for me keeps me coming back. And I know it's not like that for everybody, but it's really hard for me to imagine them getting rid of PvP because Marathon's not even like close to the same type of game. You know, it's an extraction shooter. It's not arena based combat or 6v6 combat. It is more like Tarkov or the Division's Dark Zone. Um, I'd be really surprised if they axed the Crucible going forward. Now, what I could see is them spinning the Crucible off into its own separate game. We've talked about that in the past. I could see that hypothetically if you go for a Destiny 3, just so that they don't have to pretend to balance things anymore between the two games. But then you have the questions of well, loot or are there pre-selected loadouts and this and like there's so much to think about there. Um, with Prismatic, I mean, I do feel I mean, I think you're right. Like, I do think they eventually do that. I just like I'm gonna be the stick in the mud and hope they don't. I like the identities created around each class and how they've woven that lore in. I don't like the idea of yes, these are now Prismatic Guardians are now like technically lore accurate Guardians, but I still like the idea of there like being the Order of the Sunbreakers, there being the Praxic Order, there being the Gunslingers, and the Scouts for the Hunters. Like I like the idea of all that, and I feel like it becomes less special when I can run like a full solar subclass with like a void grenade thrown in there or like a smoke bomb thrown in. I think that's really silly. Um, like I'm willing to excuse it in Prismatic, and I think the way why I'm willing to excuse it in Prismatic versus like a Destiny 3, like I have to imagine a Destiny 3 probably doesn't have stasis and strand, just like at least at the start.
Yeah.
I have to imagine there's some new gimmick there. and you're
Yeah.
going to have at least 3 basic classes. And if it does that, like, oh, cool, you can mix and match Arc, Void, and Solar from the very beginning. Okay, like you're going to have, now that the cat's out of the bag, you kind of have to allow that all the time. And
Yeah.
I do think they're going to add more abilities over the course of the next year, like to the point where most things are probably in there, but like maybe keeping the most OP abilities to those respective kits would be the best way. Like maybe you can't have like you can't use Mobius Quiver, or like for instance, you can't use Gathering Storm. I think the supers they've selected, that's fine. Do not add any more supers. Like adding more abilities, okay, fine. Like you want to add knock them down for the hunters, okay, fine. I'd be cool with that. But like you want to go use a super strong super like Gathering Storm. Gathering Storm, that's still an S tier kit for a hunter. You know, when you combine that with the Star Eater scales and some of that, like we need to see how the new supers play too. Like there's so much I think that has to be considered. I do like that the Strand and Stasis supers are already a part of it. But it's really like we've spent so much time fixing and fine tuning these light subclass abilities, and maybe I'm speaking from a place like of playing arguably the most balanced class in terms of super abilities. Um, that I just like I can't imagine like getting rid of those kits altogether. That's
Hmm.
just weird to me.
Yeah. No,
Because
I get it.
even in RPGs, there's always classes, and I
Yeah.
think that that's part of it. Like they just make it really hard to spec into other things.
Hmm.
So
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I get it. I wouldn't really want them to go away either, but I think I mean, there's going to be options, right? I guess that's the thing we're going to get to, right? I mean, there's just going to be all kinds of options. So, but
yeah. All right. Let's do some questions.
let's do the questions.
Let's do some questions. I want to start off with Knox's question tonight. As someone who's
Max.
had very little time to play this past season and will get a lot more free time relatively soon, what should I prioritize getting done before the final shape? PvE only. I don't care about PvP. Well, the good news is you haven't missed much. And I mean that non sarcastically. You really genuinely have not missed much. I was thinking about your question today. Yeah, I didn't get the thread posted until very late last night. But Knox posted this, and it caused me to get up and go look at my screen. And when I was looking, I decided of the stuff that you've probably missed this season. I'm going to assume that you haven't had much time to play during Wish at all. Wishkeeper absolutely should be prioritized. Um, I think just the bow is fine. Like getting the catalyst for it definitely makes it better. But the story that you uncover throughout that quest is really, really special.
Hmm.
In terms of crafted weapons, I would definitely suggest the fusion, the fusion, the linear, and my personal favorite, the trace rifle. I think they all have various degrees of usefulness. I haven't used the undying weapons truthfully enough to be able to speak on them. I do remember using them in the past, and I was never super impressed with them. Um,
Yeah, I
Other
mean,
than that, like I mean, into the light stuff.
yeah. I mean, into the light is probably like if you're talking solely on like a good batch of weapons to chase down and maybe I don't know if you're worried about the story or not, right? I mean, yeah, catch up on the story, I guess, but like Into the Light probably has the best batch of weapons to chase this season overall, in my opinion. Unless you're like really, well, what they said they're not into PvP, so PvE only. So I would say Into the Light, really, honestly.
Yeah, I would say go do at minimum go do all of our sites quests, and then decide what you want to focus after that.
Hmm.
Because at least with those, like you're not going to get god rolls out of every one of those, but you're going to get at least a serviceable roll on them. Um, for Nox, for you specifically, I would say like don't really worry about things like succession and um, forbearance specifically. I know you run with the group that does a lot of raiding in our Discord. I would really recommend things like Mountaintop and Hammerhead though. Not sure if you're a huge hand cannon person, but if you are, definitely go get you a good midnight coup. Luna's Howl, of course, drops on Tuesday. The last thing I would recommend is go do Whisper. I know we all have Whisper of the Worm at this point. Go get it to be craftable and crank out those 3 legend quests
Mhm.
because Whisper is good. Whisper is good again. I can't wait for Outbreak to come back in 2 weeks. Um, the That's probably about it. And I would recommend for everybody go do the little "Where's Archie" quest in the tower.
Yeah.
Go down by Ada. Archie's not there. It's a little scavenger hunt. There's going to be one a week for the next 4 weeks,
Yes.
not including this week, obviously. And they're going to reward you with trophies of bravery. And the first time that you do any of those, you get a shader, like a blue
Yeah.
steel shader, awarded to you. So I would definitely recommend going and doing that. Just like a little bit of cleanup. There is not it's a 7 month season in which there was not a lot of content until recently, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, there's some playlist weapons. Go get you a good breakneck. Definitely go work on getting one of those. I know that's technically PvP, but it's also PvE because it's Gambit. Go get you a good breakneck. Um, And then I'm not sure how you feel about heavy stasis vortex frame swords, but the slammer is a weapon a lot of people are digging over in Nightfalls. Maybe go get you one of those.
Mhm.
And yeah, there's not a lot, unfortunately.
Yeah.
There's not, and especially if you're saying like, oh, I don't want PvP. Like, well, okay, that eliminates 3 different activities I got to tell you to go hunt things for.
Right.
Which maybe have like the best weapons that you need to go get right now. Um, Yeah.
Yeah.
Jiggly Panda writes in, if you could bring back one old seasonal mode to replace any current mode, what would it be?
Oh god. Seasonal mode. Um, man,
I'm
this
gonna be
is a hard one.
controversial. I'm gonna go with none.
I mean, is that controversial though? I mean,
Yeah, because there's so many people who love the menagerie. I'm gonna say it. Menagerie, super overrated.
overrated.
You guys like it because of the loot. You didn't like it because of the actual act. The actual activity sucked
Well,
ass.
yeah. I mean, remember when it was bugged for like a couple
Ever.
weeks?
Ever.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I think I
It
was
was
not.
bugged for the first few weeks.
Yeah.
They claimed that it was unintentional, patched it, everybody hated it. So then they had to come back and make a big deal out of, "Oh, we're going to do big menagerie weekends leading into the expansion." To where like you're getting like 6 times the rewards at the end of the chest.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, like it got to the point where well this is like this is just trivial at this point. Yeah, no, sorry. Menagerie super overrated. You guys didn't like the actual activity. You guys liked the rewards. I'm just like I'm gonna say it. Like something like Coil, it's a bit of both. Like it's a good challenging activity and it has good rewards. It's hard for me to say I want to go back to an older activity because I think this year has shown with Coil, Onslaught, and to a degree Deep Dives have shown like how you can do creative seasonal modes that
Mhm.
once those like 3 months are over, we're done with this. We don't need to go back to it.
Yeah.
And it's not just standing in a circle shooting things and protecting a point, dunking the ball and stuff like that. I've really enjoyed this year's activities.
Yeah.
um yeah, we had a battlegrounds. We had 3 battlegrounds in 5 seasons, and that is silly. At that point, just make me some strikes, please.
Yeah. I
I
mean,
would rather have
mm,
strikes than battlegrounds.
man. Yeah. I mean, it's
Savathun Spire is really cool. That was a really cool activity, but I wish there were more variations to it.
yeah.
Like this is the tower of the god of trickery. I expected there to be more puzzles and hidden encounters in it than
Yeah.
there were. But I think like that's a cool idea for like a base thing.
Yeah.
The final thing that you go on when you're doing the final puzzles, the Enigma engine, when you're doing the or Embargo engine, excuse me, not the Enigma engine was the code cracking in World War II by the British. But what I'm trying to say is the Embargo engine that you do. I think Embargo engine is like a really cool base for an idea.
Hmm.
Um, and I would have liked to have seen that actually incorporated into the Spire activity fully. Um, I don't know, like maybe I'd be willing to go back and say here's the thing: we have battlegrounds, and like those are the only things I think back to the last couple of years that I'd like remotely want to do again.
Hmm.
Maybe new versions of like the expunges from Splicer. Those were pretty cool, but pretty much everything's just been like an arena mode, like outside of battlegrounds. And like I don't want to go back to the Leviathan. I think that activity was shit. I don't want to go do the stuff from Plunder. That was shit.
Yeah.
Um, we have a ton of battlegrounds. Like, what else have we really done outside of like Splicer? There's not much.
Yeah.
So and now if we're gonna expand this to go all the way back to like Black Armory stuff, my answer is still gonna be the same. The forges sucked, and the forges were bad. It was collect the ball, throw it, defend the point, and nobody wants Reckoning back. And
Yeah.
Menagerie is super overrated. Like you come to realize, like we really haven't had great seasonal activities all this time. Like we were excited about them in the moment, and now it's like I feel like I've been parroting the same line for like 2 years now. Like, man, I'm bored with these seasons and these seasonal activities. Like I need Echoes to do something radical with this model.
Yeah.
I need episode Echoes to do something radical because I'm fucking sick of it. So
Yeah. I mean, I think I'm ready for some changes. It just feels like, I don't know, it just feels like some of these are all, they're just variations on the same thing, I guess.
they
A
they
lot of
are,
them.
and I mean that's part of creating like seasonal content and stuff,
Yeah.
right? Like you don't have any support studios. I get it. A lot of your designers working on marathon and or projects that have now been canceled. I get it. I understand it, but man, I can't. I can't do it, man. I can't do more seasonal modes. Like you also were never going to do a better arena mode than Dares of Eternity.
Right.
So like we needed to probably stop doing these like 2 years ago, but here we are. Um, Jigo Panda also asks, do you think they will let us hear Keith David as Zavala in the trailer before the final shape, or will we have to wait for the DLC to release to hear him? Uh you will I'm gonna say right now there's gonna be a PlayStation Presents in May at some point. They're
Hmm.
going to do a trailer for the final shape, and I will guarantee you Keith David is voicing Zavala in it.
Yeah. The
I
only
like
thing
I
I
if FanDuel wants to put up like a $10 bet on that, I'll take it.
the only thing I could see them doing as like some sort of teaser trailer thing for the final shape would be taking old lines from Lance Reddick that like inspiring lines, right? And doing a voiceover of some slow motion stuff. And I don't know, maybe doing a second trailer with Keith David or something. I don't know. I think they're gonna have to. I don't know. I feel like they're going to tribute to Lance Reddick at some point as they transition. And I know they kind of already did that a little bit, but like, I think they're going to make a presentation out of it because it's been long enough to where like it doesn't feel as gross, in my opinion.
Yeah. So I'm a little curious to see what happens there. Um, we will see. We will certainly see. I still think they're going to give it to us, like because that's usually when they drop like the final Vidoc too, is like 2-3 weeks out.
Yeah.
Um, we'll either hear him for the first time on May 7th, or we're going to hear him for the first time. There's three possibilities for if you include the final shape.
Hmm.
One, you hear him on they release the Vidoc on May 7th. That's about a month out. Makes a lot of sense. That's the day that Whisper and the new PvP maps drop. I would expect something from Bungie on that day.
Hmm.
Number two, the PlayStation Presents, which is probably going to be around like the 22nd, 23rd of May.
Hmm.
That's usually when they try to aim for it, is like that third week,
Yeah.
going by previous patterns. Um, we all know how Sony really likes to promo the shit out of things that are 2 weeks away from coming out.
No.
Um, so I would expect if they do a PlayStation Presents in May, that this to be one of the big things. This is their like big release for the end of the quarter.
Yeah.
Um, I would expect that. Three, we hear him in the final mission of Lightfall. We do know there is one more mission. The Triumph has been uncovered. It is sitting there in collections right now. We don't know what it is. It's just, you know, It's basically like the last stand is essentially like it's called something like along that.
Mhm.
I would suspect that we maybe hear him for the first time during that mission because remember we haven't heard Zavala talk since Deep Dives, so
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
it's good. It's going to be a radical change when we do hear it.
It's gonna be so weird.
And of course, your final
It's
option is you just don't hear him until the final shape.
it's
Um,
so
if you
it's
if you do hear
so
him in the final shape, he's 100% narrating that opening.
Oh yeah, no, he definitely is.
It's either him or Nolan North at this point. So
Definitely, like, depending on what happens at the end of the whatever that final mission is after the raid gets cleared, he's definitely narrating the end of Destiny to the Light and Dark saga. Definitely, right? I feel that is something that's going to happen.
yeah, so we'll just have to wait and see. Ronnie writes in, besides the usual pins and statues, what would be the one thing that if it showed up in the Bungie store would make you go, yep, I'm definitely buying that? Beyond
Was
pins and statues. Oh,
oh
that's a
well,
challenge.
yeah, because I want a Zavala statue. I want a Zavala statue and a Saint statue. Those are like the two things I'm waiting on. And I know the
I
helmet's
need a
there.
I want Mithrax.
Yeah,
Mithrax and
Matrix
Oryx.
too. I want
I'm
them
pretty sure
all.
an Oryx one is getting announced in the coming weeks.
Oh, man, I just want
A
them all.
Nerf Outbreak Prime.
Oh God.
I would buy a Nerf Outbreak Prime.
Could you imagine cleaning up like 1,000 little mini nerfs and stuffing them back
Yeah, I'd be
into
okay with it.
medium-sized
I'd be
nerfs?
okay with it.
Ugh,
I
yeah.
would do that. I would 100% do that.
Man, I
Um,
don't know, man. Like I only like the statues. I mean,
I would. So I mean, like I like buying all the lore books. I would like to see maybe some of the old like. I would like to see the lore books look a little bit different going forward. Maybe look a little bit more like rustic and like ancient, especially if they do one like on the history of the witness and stuff. Like they compile all the witness lore into one. I would like for it to
yeah.
look like documents that have been recovered.
Yeah.
So I kind of like want to see like an evolution of these. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Um
I can't really think of anything else.
I want to
I've been a
witness
little
smoke.
bit
I want to
bitter
witness
that
head
the
smoke machine.
I've been a little bit bitter that the raids I would want to order a raid jacket from just like haven't had them, aka Crota's End,
Yeah.
King's Fall. There were not jackets for those, and I'm very upset about it still. I would have liked to have ordered one from one of those raids. I'm very glad I got the Vogue one when I did. Vogue is the only one they've done a jacket of that I'm like, yeah, I really wanted this.
Yeah.
Um, and that I thought like looked cool and not like I was like I don't know becoming like Swamp Grandpa or something like
So
with the Vow of the Disciple one, or like I was moving to northern Alaska with the parka from Deepstone Crypt.
jeez.
Um,
Oh my gosh.
I'd like to see them sell some more artwork in the shop. I'm going to be honest. I think there's so much cool concept art that they have done in this game that I would love to get some of that framed.
Yeah, I think it
Um,
would be cool to have like, or not even just framed, but like maybe like if you want to spend a little bit of extra money, but like one of those big canvases, like like
yeah,
like my wife and I when we got married, we have a huge canvas print of us, right? And I think that would be cool of Destiny art, like something like that. That's just
I
me.
would agree. I would definitely agree with that. Um, all right. Non Destiny question from Ronnie. What's one thing out of the norm that you would have to have in your man cave or game room to make it complete?
The one thing I would need. Oh
Yes,
God.
that is not a normal thing you would find in a man cave or game room.
Oh my God. Um, I mean, I'm
A
pretty
back
set.
massager,
Oh yeah, yeah,
a
something.
back and foot massager. I'm not even lying. I'm
Yeah,
fucking old, man.
I'm fucking old.
I'm old. I'm the younger one on this pod. I'm old, man. I'm falling apart.
That's fair. We're all falling apart though, Josh.
It's true in one way or another.
Yep, yep. We are just one day closer to death, everyone. We are
Jesus.
Anyways. That was dark.
That was very dark. I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah, it's fine. Maybe I won't wake up when I fall asleep tonight. Just kidding. Next question.
Next question comes from the dealer. Do you think during the Pantheon that raid armor mods will work? Do you think they should? I absolutely think they should work. I think that's gonna be for the under 20 ones. I actually think that could be a really cool element that it depends on like what buffs are present, of course, right? But I think that could actually be a really cool way of getting more power and like kind of getting you not necessarily or like getting you more healing, really. I think that could be really interesting to see the combinations people come up with. I'm specifically excited to see it in the last two Pantheon runs because I think the 4 and 5s, the 4 boss and the 5 boss gauntlet, I don't think are going to be like. I'm not going to say they're going to be easy, but I think they're going to be a little bit more on like the level that, oh, you might be able to get a team together and just go in and do it, devote a couple hours to doing it. That 8 boss gauntlet, though, like that is also, think of how many sets of armor you need to have that are good armor drops, that are fully masterworked
Hmm.
and kitted out.
God.
I salute you. If you are going in with those armor mods, I salute you because I surely won't be outside of maybe my cloaks. I think I have a cloak masterwork from each raid because it's the easiest fucking thing to do.
Yeah.
Other than that, just man,
Yeah,
I want
good
to say
luck, everybody.
we salute you. If you want to be the trial experiment for that, go for it. Um, Man, I'm trying to think back to what raids I even have armor for at this point. Of course, it's like half the ones that aren't in this thing. I
Yeah.
feel like where it's going to be most beneficial is going to be um I gotta refresh myself on the armor mod. So I'm gonna come back to this question again next week. But I feel like off the top of my head, the deep stone and the Kingsfall armor, maybe the Ron armor would be the best. Um, but then I remember like there's 2 Vow encounters too. Like, goddamn, like yeah, man. If those armor mods work, then I think that's just rewarding those who have been smart.
Yeah.
That's what I think it is. I think it's rewarding you if you've been smart this whole time. I hope they work. I'm excited to see if they work and who the first person is to figure this out. And all of us are going and trying to like get armor drops, knowing we can only get a couple pieces because none of these are going to be rotating between now and the final shape for the
Right.
most part.
Right.
Very interested. I'm very interested to see if it works. I hope it does.
I hope it does.
And Tiger Jesus writes in with the final question of the night. What would be your personal pantheon of video game bosses? And we have a request from Knox not to limit this to just Destiny bosses.
Video game bosses. Oh geez. Okay.
So I'm
So
going to say create for me a six boss gauntlet, Corey.
Jesus Christ. Okay. Okay. So Saren from Mass Effect.
Okay,
I think Saren is the greatest boss in any video game. Um
interesting.
let's see. Let's go with Wart from Super Mario Brothers 2.
Okay,
Um I think um uh man, the dragon fight in Tears of the Kingdom was super cool.
is that your number 3?
Maybe let's go with yeah, let's do that at number 3.
Okay,
Let's go with Super Shredder from Turtles in Time on Super Nintendo.
okay.
Let's go with um let's go hmm. You know what? Let's go with Wind Waker Ganon.
Okay, okay.
Um he's the coolest Ganon.
Fat Ganon.
Two Zelda bosses though. That seems a little Seems a little much. It's fine. Um, and then let's go with actually, you know what? Let's go with Jecht from Final Fantasy X. The final boss in Final Fantasy X.
Interesting. Okay, so I'm gonna try and make mine quick, and I'm gonna try to give. This is not like in any particular order. Um, Spoilers abound for various video games, by the way.
Spoilers abound.
Spoilers abound. This is officially your warning. Corey picked a lot of like older games that like if you don't know at this point, that's kind of on you. I'm picking some more recent stuff. So, um, first things first. I have to give some Bungie love here. I have to include a Destiny boss, Corey.
That's fair. I was
I'm
trying
going
not
with
to include Destiny bosses.
I'm gonna try not to. I'll give you an honorable mention at the end.
Okay.
But
Well,
I'm
we
gonna
know
go.
what
I'm
it
gonna
is.
go with a Destiny boss here. I'm gonna go with Rolk.
Ooh, spicy.
Um, I love Oryx as a fight and as a character. Rolk is the single best encounter in any of these games, and it's not even close. It is such a creative encounter. Everything you have to do leading up to that, with all the fucking symbols, the fights with him up in your face, how he doesn't even try, all the lore behind him. Gotta have him on. Gotta have Rolk. I gotta have Rolk. If I'm going for a non-Destiny pick, I'm still gonna have a Bungie pick. It's Tartarus from Halo 2.
Hmm. Interesting. Nice.
I gotta have Bungie in there somewhere, so that's my Bungie pick. But I would prefer to have Rolk. Number two, I'm going Wind Waker Ganondorf as well.
Nice.
It is maybe not the best Ganon fight in the series, but it's the most memorable for me. It is the first time I beat Ganon. I had a very notoriously hard time beating Ganon as a child in Ocarina of Time. It was not until after I beat him in Wind Waker that I went back and whooped his ass on the N64. So I am selecting Wind Waker Ganondorf for 11-year-old me, and the ridiculous time that I had fighting that dude, having my Nintendo Power Guide open off to the side and trying to figure out how to beat him. Um,
Nintendo.
number three, number three, I am going to go with the this major spoiler. If you have not played Persona 5 Royale, major spoiler. I'm going with the final boss from Persona 5 Royale. The way that the story leads you to this particular character to have a boss fight with them, everything that goes into it, there it's a three-phase fight. It is one of the most just soul tear-jerking boss fights I think that I've ever done. The soundtrack is incredible, the combat's incredible, the combat loop is great, just the culmination of everyone's character arcs, and it has one of my all-time favorite like mid-fight cutscenes in it. It is the perfect culmination of maybe the best RPG I've ever played in my life. Number four, another big one. I have to go with the final boss from I'm going the final boss from Persona 3.
Ooh.
That is, you want to talk about a boss rush gauntlet. This is a 13 phase boss battle
Jeez. Are you
because
kidding?
you have to beat it 13 different times for every arcana in the game.
Oh my god.
And it gets progressively harder. It is the ultimate test of your skill as a Persona player.
Oh,
Even on easy mode, it is still a challenge.
oh my god.
Um and I never did it in Persona 3 Portable, obviously. I did it in Reload, and it is absolutely magnificent. What does that give? That gives me four, correct?
Yes, that is your number 4. Yes.
That's number four. My number five is the Sephiroth fight from Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
That's
That is not a spoiler in any way, shape, or form, but
spoilers. You
that
fight
is such
Sephiroth
a
in Final
that
Fantasy
is
7.
that is such a goddamn long fight. Um, it is the truest, like, it is also another gauntlet. It is like a 6 or 7 phase fight, but it is maybe one of the best scripted fights I've ever seen in my life. It is phenomenal. I really don't want to spoil any of the story things that happen during it, All I will say is it plays out differently than Final Fantasy VII, and I highly encourage everyone to go play it. Level your entire party before you go in there. My final, my final boss. Again, these are in no order because I think that God, I think you would have to put either the Persona 3 boss or being deliberately ambiguous there, or Sephiroth at the end if you were doing an actual gauntlet. Um, hmm. It's
Hmm.
actually a little bit harder than I thought it was going to be to pick a last one.
Come on, Josh. Do it. Do it.
So I'm also going to pull one from Mass Effect.
Ooh. I know what you're going to pick.
Do you?
No, probably not. I would like to think
So
it.
I'm of two minds here, and I really, if I had a coin, I would flip it because I can easily go with the end of Mass Effect 2 because everything that leads to it. I'm including the suicide mission in that. If you
Ooh.
do that, that is the best sequence ever done in a video game, period. But the boss fight falls a little bit flat for me. I'd be picking it more for the emotion you feel during the suicide mission. The
Okay.
fight that I'm ultimately going to pick is Mass Effect 3.
Ooh.
I'm doing the Kai Lang fight.
Ooh. That's a good fight.
That was for Thane, you son of a bitch.
Oh my god.
That is one of the best Commander Shepard moments. It is the defining climax of a series. It takes the most emotional moment in the game for me and turns it on its head, and you get the revenge you've sought for like 30 hours at this point. It is magnificent. Nothing that followed lived up to it, except for the goodbyes you say to your squad. For me, that's where the game ends. The game ends for me right there. It ends fighting Kai Lang for me. But that is the culmination of if you kept your squad alive in 2, if you've kept everyone alive in 3, that is the defining cumulative moment of the entire franchise for me. In lieu of being able to actually fight the elusive man. Um, it is incredible. Like what when we pick these things, like we both went back to like these fond memories we have of these games. Like maybe these aren't necessarily the best boss fights we've ever done, but they're so special to us in some way.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Otherwise, I mean, I'd have like 6 Legend of Zelda bosses on here probably.
I mean,
I'd have like 3 different Ganondorf fights. I'd have the Twilight Princess Ganondorf on here probably.
yeah. Not well.
Like
I would say.
it's so fucking hard.
I would
It's so
say.
fucking hard.
I would say Puppet Zelda and the Beast Ganon are the best. Is the best fight in that game.
I will say the one that was hard for me to leave off is the final fight of Tears of the Kingdom.
Mm,
And that's primarily because I didn't want 2 of the same character.
yeah.
But I will say the ending of that is maybe the best moment of any game I played outside of Persona 5 Royale in the last couple of years. That
That
is the
is
ultimate
fair.
go-getter moment.
Yep.
And so like for me again, like it's much like if I were to choose the Mass Effect 2 boss, it's less about the boss fight because the boss fight is infuriating. It is not fun in any way, shape, or form. But it's what comes after
Hmm.
and or before in Mass Effect 2's case. It's about the journey,
Yeah.
and but at the same time, it's like, man, these other ones, like, God, talk about some grueling final bosses here. I think every one that I chose except for Wind Waker Ganondorf is legitimately a gauntlet. I'm a sucker for punishment.
Yeah.
I'm a glutton for punishment, Corey, and
That you
I
are,
don't know if
sir.
I can stand by and continue to allow it to happen.
That you are, sir. My Destiny honorable mention though is Oryx, probably just because there's not just because the fight is
Yeah,
cool and Oryx is a cool boss, but just the memories attached to it, I think. Um, so yeah, I don't really have anything else to say about Oryx. There's nothing really to say about Oryx, but
we've said everything we can about Oryx at this point.
that we have, sir. That we have. Anyways, good times.
All right, Corey,
Yes, sir.
get us out of here.
Oh, we're leaving already.
We're leaving already. We're
All
leaving already.
right.
I do not have a lower corner prepped. All
How
my
dare
stuff
you?
closed when my laptop decided to shut down.
How dare you?
And it did not restore tabs when I said select tabs.
Select tabs. Well, everybody out there, thank you for watching and or listening to this episode of Tower Casuals. Apologies for answering emails in the middle of the show. It was a work-related thing. So, whoops. Anyways, Josh, thank you for your time tonight, as always.
Of course.
Oh, Captain, my Captain. Is that Captain with two N's, Josh?
It's Captain with two N's.
Finn. Josh_Finn, two N's.
Captain.
Jesus. I don't know where I'm at. Okay. Well, look, follow us, rate us, do whatever. Tell your friends. Join the Discord. Thank you so much for watching and or listening. Until next time, we love you. Goodbye.